You are about to discover something that will completely dismantle everything you thought you knew about reality and your place within it. Most people will scroll past this. Most people aren't ready. But you found this video at this exact moment because somewhere deep in your consciousness, you already know what I'm about to reveal. You're one of the rare ones who can handle the truth about identity, about selfhood, about the very fabric of your existence. What I'm sharing with you right now is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is quantum truth that operates whether you believe it or not. And the moment you truly understand this, your entire reality will restructure itself instantly. Right now, as you're watching this, you think you're a person. You have a name. You have a history. You have characteristics, traits, beliefs, limitations. You've spent your entire life building this identity, defending it, explaining it, trying to improve it. But here's what changed everything for me, what shattered my entire understanding of existence. The person you think you are is the only thing standing between you and unlimited potential. The identity you've constructed is not who you are. It's a frequency lock. It's a prison made of vibration that keeps you confined to a narrow bandwidth of reality. Let me take you deeper. In quantum physics, there's a principle that scientists are only beginning to understand, but mystics have known for millennia. Before observation, before measurement, particles exist in a state called superposition. They're not in one place or another. They're not one thing or another. They exist as pure potential, as infinite possibility. The moment you observe them, the moment you measure them, they collapse into a single state. They become fixed. They become limited. They become one thing instead of all things. You are doing this to yourself every single day. Every time you say I am followed by any limitation, any definition, any fixed characteristic, you are collapsing your quantum field into a single timeline, a single version of reality, a single expression of what you could be. When you identify as a person with a specific personality, specific abilities, specific limits, you are taking infinite potential and crushing it down into a tiny, finite expression. I discovered this in the most profound way during what I can only describe as a consciousness breakthrough. I was meditating, but I went deeper than I'd ever gone before. I wasn't trying to be anyone. I wasn't maintaining any identity. I wasn't even thinking of myself as me. And in that space, something incredible happened. I felt myself expand beyond the boundaries of my physical body, beyond my thoughts, beyond my history, beyond my name. I became aware of myself as pure awareness, as consciousness itself, as the field from which all possibilities emerge. In that state, I wasn't limited to being one version of myself. I was all versions simultaneously. I was pure potential. And here's where it gets absolutely transformative. When I came back from that experience, when I returned to my normal waking consciousness, I wasn't the same person anymore. The identity I had spent 40 years building felt like a costume I could take on and off. I realized that the person I thought I was just one frequency I had been broadcasting consistently for so long that it had become solidified, crystallized into what felt like a fixed reality. But it wasn't fixed at all. It was just a habit, a very strong, very practiced habit of consciousness. The quantum field, the unified field of consciousness that underlies all of reality, doesn't see you as a person. It doesn't recognize your identity. It only responds to frequency, to vibration, to the energetic signature you're broadcasting in each moment. When you identify strongly as a person, as this specific individual with this specific past and these specific limitations, you're broadcasting a very narrow frequency band. You're telling the quantum field, this is what I am. This is all I can be. This is my range of possibility. And the field responds perfectly. It mirrors back to you a reality that matches that narrow frequency. But the instant you stop being a person, the instant you release your grip on that fixed identity, something miraculous happens. Your frequency expands. Your energetic signature opens up. You move from broadcasting a single note to broadcasting an entire symphony of potential. The quantum field receives this expanded signal and begins restructuring reality around you to match this new, unlimited frequency. I want you to feel into this for a moment. Think about all the ways you define yourself. I am anxious. I am not good with money. I am shy. I am not creative. I am unlucky in love. I am stuck. Every single one of these statements is not describing who you are. They're describing a frequency you've been broadcasting so consistently that it's become your default signal. And that signal is creating your reality, moment by moment, day by day, year by year. What I'm telling you is that you are not that signal. You are the broadcaster. You are not the program. You are the consciousness that creates programs. You are not the character in the story. You are the author, the storyteller, the awareness that writes reality into existence. The person you think you are is a creation of your consciousness, not the source of it. This is where most people get confused, where most teachings fall short. They tell you to change yourself, to improve yourself, to become a better version of yourself. But they're still operating within the paradigm of selfhood, of fixed identity. What I'm showing you is completely different. I'm not asking you to become a better person. I'm inviting you to stop being a person altogether, even if just for moments, and in those moments, to exist as pure creative potential. When you exist as pure potential, unbound by identity, something extraordinary happens in your reality. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly appear. People who would never have entered your life show up with exactly what you need. Resources flow toward you effortlessly. Synchronicities become constant. Why? Because you're no longer broadcasting the narrow frequency of I am this specific person with these specific limits. You're broadcasting the infinite frequency of I am pure possibility. I am consciousness creating. I am unlimited potential expressing itself. The quantum field responds to this expanded frequency by presenting you with expanded options. Your timeline shifts. You literally jump from one probable reality to another. Things that seemed impossible become natural. Things that were blocked suddenly open. Not because you changed the external world, but because you changed your frequency, your vibration, your energetic signature. You became someone else. No, that's not quite right. You stopped being someone and started being the space from which all someones emerge. Let me share a practical experience that will show you exactly what I mean. About 6 months after my initial breakthrough, I was facing what seemed like an impossible situation. I needed a significant amount of money within a week for an opportunity that had presented itself. The old me, the person I used to identify as, would have panicked. That person had a whole story about money, about struggle, about never having enough. But I caught myself. I saw that person, that identity trying to activate, trying to broadcast its familiar frequency of lack and limitation. Instead, I made a choice. I stopped being that person. I literally said to myself, I am not going to be the person who struggles with money right now. I'm not going to activate that identity, that frequency. Instead, I'm going to exist as pure potential, as consciousness itself, and I'm going to allow whatever reality wants to emerge from that open state. I sat in meditation, but not the kind where you're trying to achieve something or become something. I sat as nothing, as no one, as pure aware presence. And from that space, I didn't visualize or affirm or try to manifest. I simply remained as open potential, as consciousness without identity. I stayed there for about 20 minutes, and when I opened my eyes, I felt different, lighter, unbound. I had no story about money, no identity around lack, no frequency of struggle active in my system. Within 3 days, the money appeared, not from where I expected, not through any logical pathway. An old friend I hadn't spoken to in years called me out of the blue with a business opportunity that immediately provided exactly what I needed, plus more. When I asked him why he thought of me, he said, "I don't know. Your name just popped into my head, and I felt like I needed to call you right away." That's how the quantum field works when you're not locked into a fixed identity. When you're broadcasting narrow frequency, the field can only deliver through narrow channels. But when you exist as open potential, as pure consciousness, the field has infinite pathways to deliver what matches your expanded state. You become a magnet for synchronicity, for quantum leaps, for timeline shifts that seem miraculous but are actually just natural responses to your new frequency. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds amazing, but how do I actually do this? How do I stop being a person? How do I exist as pure potential? And I'm going to give you a specific practice that will shift your frequency instantly. This is not something you need to build up to or practice for years. This works immediately because it's not about acquiring something new. It's about dropping something old. It's about releasing the frequency lock of identity. Here's the practice. I want you to try this right now while you're watching this video. Take a deep breath. Now, bring to mind your name. Say your name in your mind. Feel how it creates a sense of identity, of being someone specific. Now, I want you to imagine that name is not yours. Imagine you just borrowed it temporarily, like a character in a play borrows a name for a performance. Feel how that changes something. You're still here, still aware, still present, but something relaxes. Some tight grip on identity loosens. Now go deeper. Think about your personality, your characteristics. Maybe you identify as introverted or extroverted, creative or analytical, confident or anxious. Just notice these labels and then do the same thing. Imagine these are not who you are. They're just frequencies you've been broadcasting. They're not fixed, they're not real. They're just patterns, habits of consciousness. And you can change the channel anytime you want. Go even deeper. Think about your body, your appearance, your age, your gender, all the physical characteristics you use to define yourself. And recognize that awareness itself, the consciousness reading these words right now, has no body, has no age, has no gender. You are awareness temporarily experiencing these things, but you are not these things. They're happening in you, the vast space of consciousness, but they are not you. Now here's the most powerful part. From this place of released identity, from this space of pure awareness, ask yourself, what would I create if I weren't bound by who I think I am? What would I do if I weren't this specific person with this specific history? What would I allow into my reality if I weren't defending and maintaining this fixed identity? Don't try to answer with your mind, just sit in that question. Let it reverberate through your consciousness, and notice what happens. You'll feel a shift, an expansion, a sense of possibility that wasn't there before. That's your quantum field opening up. That's your frequency expanding beyond the narrow bandwidth of personhood into the infinite range of pure potential. This is not a one-time practice. This is a way of being that you can access anytime, anywhere. The more you practice existing as pure awareness rather than as a fixed person, the more your reality will reflect that expanded frequency. Your brain will literally rewire. Your neural patterns will shift from the well-worn grooves of identity into new pathways of possibility. The quantum field will respond to your new signal by presenting you with new realities, new timelines, new versions of what your life can be. I want to tell you what happened to me when I started living this way consistently. Everything changed. My relationships transformed because I stopped showing up as the same person with the same patterns. I stopped activating the old frequencies that had created the same dynamics over and over. People close to me said things like, "You're different. I can't explain it, but something about you has changed." And they were right. I hadn't become a better version of myself. I had stopped being myself altogether, and from that open space, entirely new ways of relating emerged. My work transformed. Opportunities that were never available to the person I used to be suddenly appeared everywhere. Why? Because I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't broadcasting the frequency of that person's limitations. I was broadcasting pure potential, and the field responded by showing me what pure potential can create. Money started flowing in ways that made no logical sense based on my old identity, my old frequency. But it made perfect sense from the perspective of quantum physics. I had changed my vibration, so the field mirrored back different circumstances. Even my physical health shifted. Issues I had carried for years started resolving. Not because I treated them differently, but because the person who had those issues, who identified with those limitations, wasn't there anymore. I had released that identity, that frequency, and a new pattern emerged in its place. This is what the ancients meant when they talked about rebirth, about dying to the old self. They weren't speaking metaphorically. They were describing an actual quantum shift in consciousness, an actual death of one identity frequency, and the birth of a new, expanded frequency. Here's what you need to understand at the deepest level. The person you think you are was created by you to navigate this reality. It's a tool, a vehicle, a temporary form that consciousness took to have a specific experience. But you've forgotten that you created it. You've identified with it so completely that you think you are it. You think the tool is the user. You think the vehicle is the driver. You think the character is the author. But you're not the person. You never were. You are the consciousness that created the person. You are the quantum field localizing itself into a specific form for a specific experience. And the moment you remember this, the moment you stop identifying as the person and start recognizing yourself as the consciousness, as the field, as pure potential, everything shifts. Not gradually, instantly. Because you're not changing reality. You're changing the frequency you're broadcasting, and reality is simply mirroring that new frequency back to you. This is why some people can transform their entire lives overnight while others work for years with minimal change. It's not about effort. It's not about worthiness. It's about frequency. The people who transform instantly are the ones who've stopped being the person who had the problem. They've shifted identity at the deepest level. They've moved from being a fixed self to being pure creative potential. And the quantum field has no choice but to respond to that shift with a new reality. You are standing at a threshold right now. Not metaphorically, actually. You can continue identifying as the person you've always been, broadcasting the same frequency, creating the same reality, living the same patterns. That's a valid choice. Many people make that choice because it's familiar, it's comfortable, it's safe. Or you can step through this threshold. You can release your grip on who you think you are. You can exist, even for moments, as pure consciousness, as unlimited potential, as the quantum field itself, localized in human form. If you choose the second path, if you choose to stop being a person and start being pure potential, your reality will never be the same. The changes won't be subtle. They'll be unmistakable. Synchronicities will flood your life. Doors that were closed will fly open. People will be drawn to your new frequency without understanding why. Resources will flow toward you as if magnetized. Your timeline will shift, and you'll look back at your old life, wondering how you ever thought that was all you could be, how you ever believed in those limitations, how you ever identified as that small, fixed, struggling person. You are not that person. You have never been that person. That person was a frequency, a vibration, a signal you've been broadcasting. But the broadcaster, the consciousness, the awareness that you truly are, is unlimited. It's pure potential. It's the quantum field itself, aware of itself, creating reality through itself. This is not motivation. This is not inspiration. This is quantum truth. This is how reality actually works at the deepest level. Every moment you spend identified as a person, as a fixed self, is a moment you're collapsing infinite potential into a single, limited expression. Every moment you release that identity and exist as pure awareness is a moment the quantum field expands around you, presenting new possibilities, new timelines, new realities. You don't have to work to create a new life. You just have to stop being the person living the old one. The instant you stop being that person, you become pure potential, and pure potential can create anything, become anything, experience anything. This is your power. Not the power of the person you think you are, but the power of the consciousness you actually are. The person has limits. Consciousness has none. The person has a history. Consciousness is eternal. The person struggles. Consciousness creates. The person seeks. Consciousness is. You are not the seeker. You are not the struggler. You are not the limited, struggling, seeking person. You are the infinite, creative, unlimited consciousness that has been pretending to be a person. Stop pretending, just for a moment, just for today. See what happens when you release the identity, when you stop being a person, when you exist as pure potential. Watch your reality shift. Watch the synchronicities appear. Watch the timeline change. Watch the quantum field respond to your new frequency with a new world. You are pure potential. You always have been. The only thing stopping you from experiencing that is the person you think you are. Let that person go. Not forever, just for now. And watch everything transform. You are consciousness. You are the quantum field. You are pure creative potential. This is not what you will become. This is what you are, right now, in this moment. The instant you stop being a person, you remember what you've always been, pure, unlimited, infinite potential. And that changes everything.